And we're ready.
Great. Hey, folks, this is Steve Gordon, and I just want to thank you all for being here. We've got, I think, a bit of a unique experience planned for you today. I've asked Nina Cooke, who you see probably, hopefully in the same place on the screen as she is on my screen, up in the very upper left corner. Nina's a friend and a colleague and somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And she's got a particular specialty in this whole business of growing a coaching or consulting or professional services business that is really unique. Whereas, firms like ours and a lot of other people tend to focus on the strategy or the tactic of what do you have to do to go get a client. Nina really focuses on how you have to change your own thinking. And it's really interesting because with all the clients that I've worked with over the years, we can do the strategy and tactics all day long, but there will always be a point with every client that I've ever worked with where they kind of hit this mindset block. And for some, it's been really, really severe. And for others, not as severe, but still significant, something that they need to deal with. And so when, I had the opportunity to have Nina come on and share her thinking and her wisdom with you, I thought, what a great opportunity. Let's do it. And so that's why we're here today. So for those of you that don't know Nina, she's been on our podcast recently within the last month or two. And she really works exclusively with what she calls stuck and frustrated service providers, leaders and professionals who are in businesses where maybe the business has plateaued. Maybe maybe they've taken a little bit of a hit to confidence because things aren't growing as fast as they've grown in the past. And she helps them to increase their profit by really leveraging and changing their thinking, bringing new clarity and focus, and really the confidence to go and take bold action in sales and marketing. And I can tell you, I know how critical that is because we've worked with people and tried to get them through it. And Nina has got just a particular skill around it. And she's joining us today all the way from England near Cambridge. And Nina, I want to thank you again for taking the time and being here today with us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for welcoming me to your community.
This is going to be a lot of fun. So just really quickly, this is designed to be interactive. This is not where, Nina's just going to be standing up here for an hour and sending information your way. So if you have questions around raising your fees or how to handle sales conversations, or enrollment conversations, anything around kind of your sales and marketing that you have a question about, go ahead and put that into the chat. You can do it now. You can do it as we go. I'll be monitoring the chat. So, as we go through, we'll be able to answer those questions. The goal here is really to make this a workshop for you. If there's something that you're working on that you want to move forward, now's a great chance to get one-on-one feedback. And so I'll just lay that out there as kind of the ground rules for today. And with that, I'm going to start us off with the first question, Nina, if you don't mind. You and I have talked a lot about raising prices, and I know that that's a particular hang-up for a lot of business owners. When it comes to raising prices, what is it that really holds people back from feeling confident enough to go and raise their fees?
I think it's fear. And from working on myself and working with clients, it comes down to the fear that people won't be able to afford them. And this is interesting because obviously our thinking is unique and we make it up in our heads. So if we're going into any sales conversation or looking at our services and deciding what price we're going to charge, the amount of fear we have will determine how low we price ourselves. So if we have a story that the prospect won't be able to afford us, there's no point in charging that much, I'll drive them away, they'll go and book with someone who's cheaper than me, then you're going to keep your prices low. So it's fear of rejection. It's fear of disapproval. What will they think of me if I were to charge that much? And that's what keeps our pricing low. It's not actually it's not anything that's happening on the outside. It's no external circumstances that are keeping our prices low. It's ourselves. So our pricing isn't actually set by the market. It's not set by prospects. It's not set by our peer group. It's set by ourselves. And we have all the evidence to see that, because there are so many different price points out there in any niche. I mean, look at your niche, Steve. There will be different price points for different services. There will be the people who are charging top end. There are the people who are charging the bottom end, and everyone in between. So who gets to decide that pricing? It's not set by the market. It's set by your own self-belief. It comes down to your self-worth. What do you believe you're worth? What do you believe is the value that you bring to your clients? And accordingly, you set your price. So it's an indicator of where your financial set point is within yourself. Or it's an indicator of how low or how high your income glass ceiling is above your head. And the lovely thing about being an entrepreneur is that we can set our own prices. There's no boss telling us, well, you're going to be paid this much, you may get a bonus if you're lucky, and, we can't afford any pay rises this year. No one's saying that to us. But it's really important to listen to all the stories we're telling ourselves about why we're undercharging, if that's the case with the people, in this webinar with us. So when you're thinking about putting your prices up, listen to all the resistance that comes up, because there you have all the clues you need about why you're not raising your prices.
I'm listening to you, answer that. And I'm just guessing that there are people listening that are going to say, well, wait. No, it's the market that sets price, right? There's generally a market rate for what I do. And people won't necessarily pay much more than that. Or they may be thinking, that's great, but really what I do may not be worth as much. And I think that comes back around, again, to your point. When people give you objections to that, what objections are they typically, and how do you deal with each of those?
Well, I get things like, well, no one's going to pay me that much. It's too expensive. People won't pay that. I'll get objections like, I don't believe I deserve that much money. I don't believe I can do that. And there's all sorts of limiting beliefs around money, around value, around self-worth. It's almost like it's okay for other people to do it, but I can't do it. So there's a real fear around what will happen if we put our prices up. And it's all mindset, because the mindset comes first and then the mechanics follows the mindset. So once you can shift that thinking and actually realize that you are able to put your prices up, then that's what you'll do automatically. So for myself, when I started out in coaching, I didn't know about the online coaching world really, because I hired an office, a local office. I'd meet clients face to face, and I started off charging £60 an hour because I looked in the market. I thought, well, that's not the top, it's not the bottom. So that feels kind of comfortable to me. And I remember as I was shifting all this stuff within myself and getting clearer and more confident about prices, and I had a business coach, and he was telling me do some, marketing online. And he said, you need to package up your program. You can't keep charging session by session. You need to put it into a package. And I thought, okay, I've never done this before, but let's do it. And he said, price your 6-month package at $1,997. And I thought, okay, well, that's a lot more than I've been charging, but let's see how it goes, because I was open to it. I was very coachable because I didn't have that resistance inside of me. And we put my offer out. He actually had a session with me. He had a huge breakthrough, clearing one limiting belief. And then he emailed his list. And I've got this flow of clients who are willing to pay me $1,997 to work with me for 6 months. And I thought, wow, this works. It absolutely works. And since then, I've consistently raised my prices because I don't have those blocks inside of me. So when clients come to me with those blocks, I know all we need to do is find the limiting beliefs like, I don't deserve that much money, no one's going to pay me that much, I'm not worthy, all of those beliefs that they have. And then when you get rid of them, then suddenly they start taking action, and it's so easy and natural. It's like, well, I'm going to put my prices up now. No resistance. Wow, that's interesting. Put my prices out there, believe in my value, and bang, people start signing up. And it's actually easier to sell at a higher price than it is to sell at a lower price, because when you're selling at a higher price, then your client is really buying into the big result. And when you buy into a big result and you invest more, we all know that we're much more committed. So, anyone on this call, if they can remember a time they paid premium pricing for any type of coaching, I bet you turned up. I bet you were 100% committed. I bet you took the action because you wanted a good return on your investment. You had invested and you wanted a good result. And therefore, you are so much more likely to do the work. And this is how it works. It's actually easier sometimes to work with higher fees than it is to work with lower fees. And the logistics of it, you need to book a lot of clients at lower prices to get the income you want, but you don't need to book so many clients at higher price. And I find that when I started raising my prices, my sales conversations actually got shorter. They got more focused because I didn't have that stage at the end where the client was saying, well, actually, I agree with everything you're saying, but I just don't have the money to do this. I was talking to people who have the means now to spend the money with me. And once they know I can solve their problem, bang, they're going to go ahead and book with me. So it actually makes life easier.
I think you bring up a really critical point, Nina, there at the end, that as you raise your prices, you're changing who you're selling to most of the time. Price tells a story, okay? And it tells a story about you, and it tells a story in the mind of the person that is buying from you. And so, someone who is willing and able and of the mindset to invest in a lower priced offering, they've got one set of stories they're telling themselves. Somebody who is willing and able and ready to invest at a higher level for the same service is telling themselves a completely different story. And so when you become, I think, a lot more intentional about that, and understand that it is just a story. It's a number that has a meaning that we each attach to it. And yeah, there's a value component to it, but that's often less important than the story that you tell. And the proof of that is that Chevrolet and Mercedes-Benz both exist. And if it was all about value and utility, there'd be no Mercedes-Benz. Everybody drive a Chevy. And so it's just a matter of how are you going to use price to attract the people that are telling the kind of story that you want them to tell, to be able to create the business that you want. Nina, we've got some questions that have come in. You want to jump and tackle some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to do that. So Francois says, I coach setups and they always seem not to be able to spend a lot. This can be true, but it also may not be the case. Again, this could be a story that you're telling yourself, because sometimes with startups, they have a budget, they have a fund that they want to spend on marketing and, sales and getting themselves going. So it may be until you see, when we go into a sales call with the thinking, this person can't afford me, that thinking is going to completely throw you off course in the call, because that's where your focus is going to be. This person can't afford me. And you cannot be 100% in the call giving value because your focus isn't in the right place. So what if you went into any call, whether it's a startup or not, saying, okay, this person can afford me. I'm going to show them so much value that they're going to want to work with me. They're going to find a way of working with me. So I completely get your point, but it still doesn't mean that you can't raise your prices and show the value of working with you and the result you're getting. Because at the end of the day, people are after the result. And what we sometimes don't do in a conversation is we don't give the value to the prospect. We're so tuned into the bit where we're going to be saying our price, and that gets us all, that gets us really fearful and worried and nervous about that part. What if we could approach sales conversations and out of curiosity, I wonder what this person needs from me. I wonder how I can help them. Stay on their side of the chasm. They're not on one side and you're on the other side. You're together. So make sure you stay with them. And this will really help to build up the rapport. And I've had conversations where I thought, actually, I don't think this person will sign up with me. And then they surprise me and they want to do it. So go in without any stories about what they can afford. And this will really give you a very a fresh way of going into calls where you are completely open to whatever the other person is saying, and you're responding to that person from your heart instead of from your head.
Okay. Nina, we've got a number of questions around three-tier pricing. And Francois came back and said he offers three options, but he feels like it's still a bit low priced. But I know John's asking about three-tier pricing. We've had a couple of others around that topic. And what they're getting at is kind of having a good, better, best option. And how do you feel about that approach? What, just in general, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a great approach because it's nice to give options to clients and then they can decide which one is the best fit for them. And something that I've come across again and again is your lowest option, make it pretty unattractive. Your top option, deluxe, make it really a very, very high price. There's a huge comparison. And then put in your middle option, which is the option most probably you want them to book. Put it in the middle. So it seems like it's so much cheaper than the most expensive one, but so much better, offering a much bigger result than your lower one. So I think offering three packages, three choices is a really, really nice idea. I work with it myself, and more often than not, my client will pick the middle one. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that, Steve?
Yeah, we see similar results. We do three-tier pricing on some of our offers. I know with many of our clients, they're doing three-tier pricing. I'm always amazed at, when you put sort of the red herring out there on the high end, how many will actually take it. And so you want to make sure that it's out there. But the thing that you have to understand about pricing is that it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's only relevant in comparison to something. And without the comparison, it's meaningless. And I think, Nina, what you're getting at is that a lot of times we're doing the comparison in our own minds as we're setting our price. And we're comparing it against something that maybe we're willing to invest in or what we think the value is. The client's doing the same sort of comparison in their mind. It's just got a different thing that it's being compared to. And so one of the reasons that three-tiered pricing works so well is because you're now framing what the comparison is. You're saying, here's the deluxe diamond package at this price. Here's the middle one. Here's the lower one. And now because you've got three, it's not just one price in a vacuum. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. A lot is made of the fact of when you have three-tier pricing, that it takes it from a yes, no to an ABC kind of answer. I think there's probably some truth to that, but I think more importantly, you're framing that price and you're giving them a way to compare. You're defining what that is instead of letting it happen silently within the prospect's mind.
Yes. And you said something really important. And this is around what are you willing to invest in yourself? Because the amount you're willing to invest will probably reflect back on what you expect people to pay you. And when I've invested a lot in my coaching, tens of thousands of dollars and more over the years. And as I've been investing more and more in my coaching, I've been putting my prices up. So I think this is another mindset thing, that the amount that you're willing to invest yourself is a reflection of how much you're expecting people to pay you.
And let me add one thing to that. I think this is a particular problem in kind of coaching and consulting and in other service businesses where you're the deliverable, because you're really putting a value on your time and energy and effort. For most of us, we've been raised to be humble, and by putting a big dollar number on there, that seems to go against sort of the fundamental beliefs that we've probably held since childhood, that were instilled by our well-meaning parents. I think that's why this is a particular issue, for businesses like ours. In product businesses, you don't see it as much because you're selling this widget over here. And yeah, you've got to put a price on it, and there's price elasticity over there and everything, but it's very different when you're pricing yourself.
Yes. And this is the thing. So this is what has really helped me. When I worried that I was selling myself, and if people didn't like what I had, my service, my coaching, then they were rejecting me. And I had a very big breakthrough in this. And I realized that actually they weren't saying no to me and who I am. They were just saying this service isn't right for me right now. And when I was able to separate my service from me and who I am, I stopped taking it personally. So when someone doesn't want to work with me, it just means they're not in the right place. It's not a good fit for them. That's all. There's no more story than that. It doesn't mean I'm a loser. It doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It doesn't mean I'll never get what I want. It just means that they don't want to buy at that particular moment. And look at yourself. You don't buy everything that's put in front of you. You say no to things. So take that personal rejection out of it. And, pretend it's a widget. Pretend your service is a widget. And it doesn't define you and who you are. Seriously, you are not your business. You are so much bigger than that. Your business is just something that you do. It's an important part of your life. So take that personal element out of it. And when you do, you will stop taking things personally. And when you stop taking things personally, your courage and your resilience will grow. Because one of the keys to great strategy calls and putting up your prices and all of that is getting comfortable getting no's. Because what you have isn't going to appeal to everyone. And once you can get comfortable getting no's, then you'll approach your sales calls with a completely different mindset. It will be that curiosity. It will be that sense of play. It will be, let's see what happens. Let's see how it goes. Because there's no one prospect who will make or break your life. You won't look back at the end of your life and think, oh, that one that got away, that really changed my whole life. Because there will always be another sales call to come along. But if you stay undercharging, if 2019 carries on the same way, then you haven't moved forward in your business in the way that you can do. You see, anything is possible. Absolutely everything is possible. I had a client who I worked with because she wanted to charge premium pricing and she was struggling around the 10, 11, 12,000 mark. So we worked together a while ago and she sent an email recently with an offer to work with her, one-to-one coaching for $30,000. So nothing has changed in the outside world for her. Her mindset has just stepped up to the place where she recognizes her value and she knows she can get the big result. So obviously you have to know that, you can deliver what the client wants. There's no point putting up your price and not being able to deliver. That deliverability has to be there. The skill has to be there. But once you've got the evidence that you can do that, then actually there's nothing to stop you. There's absolutely nothing to stop you apart from your thinking. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. All right. So moving on, Horace is asking if he should raise his fees. He says he's charging double his competitors' rates now, and should he raise his fees?
Without knowing the context of his work, it's very hard to say whether he should change his fees. Is he earning the sort of income he wants? Does he feel that there's, maybe if he raised his fees, he could bring even more value to the clients? I don't know what his package is. I don't know exactly what he's offering. I don't know the result that he's giving. So, without knowing all of that, but does he feel that there's room for more stretch there? Is he going to stay at this pricing for the next year, for the next 2 years? Does he feel there's room for growth? And sometimes if you look at other people's packages, it gives you lots of ideas of how you can add more value in order to, feel that the client is going to get exactly what they want. And sometimes you don't have to add any value to your package. You can keep the same package and just put up your price. There's a very, very successful coach in the UK, Dan Bradbury, and he had a policy that he would only, after every 5th client, he put up his price. So you've got 5 people to pay him his price, and the 6th person, the price will go up. And he's done that consistently throughout his very, very successful coaching business. So it's just, he never had the resistance. He never had the fear. Why is that? Why do some people just be able to do it like this and other people really, really struggle? It's because what they think they're worth. It comes down to that.
And I think that illustration is a really good example. So I might not go back and raise the fees on all of my current clients, but you may set a threshold like that where you're going to test an increase on, the next client, or you're going to add 3 and the 4th one, however you come up with it. But so that you've always got a mechanism in place to be increasing fees. Because what I see happen a lot of times is people will set a fee level and they'll kind of get comfortable there, and they'll be selling and selling and selling. And all of a sudden you might go 2 or 3 years without a fee increase. And then it's like, oh my goodness, I got to get a fee increase. All of my costs have gone up. And if you're doing it incrementally and you've got a plan for doing it, and it's a forward looking thing. I mean, I think it can be really dangerous going back to clients where you've brought them in believing in a certain value and relying on a certain pricing level, and then sort of changing the deal on them halfway through. That can be problematic. But if it's a go forward thing, that's something you always want to be testing is, how far can we add, not only to our fee, but does that added profit give us the ability to create a different level of experience for people?
Yes. And one thing that I've done successfully is when the client comes to the end of the program and they want to continue working with me, and my price has gone up, then I'll just say, let's split the difference in the old price and the new price. And they seem very, very happy with that.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Shelley Cooper is asking, in a market that's fairly innovative, the customers need to be educated on what the product is, features and benefits before they'll be enticed to buy. Then after explaining what it is and how it works and the cost, many potential clients take my information and try to do it themselves to save money. Yes, do-it-yourselfers are everywhere. So how do we deal with them?
Well, if they're just putting the plaster over the cut, they need to really make sure that they're getting to the root of what it is. And they may get a bit of relief for a while, but then after that, they're going to get stuck again. So it's again showing them the difference between doing it themselves and getting expert help. And with expert help, you get quicker results. You get, people want faster, don't they? And they can get much bigger results. So again, it's demonstrating your value and showing them the difference between working with you, where they get the very big result, exactly what they want after you've defined obviously their vision and their goals, and then the difference it will make just doing it themselves, because they'll come to a standstill. They're going to hit the brick wall sooner or later. So it's whether they hit a brick wall, spend a lot of time, trying to get over that brick wall on their own, lose time, lose money, or whether they invest in the big solution with you right now.
One thing I'll add to that is that people that want to do it themselves are a particular mindset. And you can, in your marketing, weed them out. And I get a lot of people who come to us and they're all upset. They don't want to give away kind of everything that they know in their marketing because they're afraid that someone will take it and go do it themselves. And my response to that is, well, that person it's not costing you anything for that person to go do that, because they weren't ever going to hire you anyway. And so really what you're doing is you're creating goodwill and hopefully creating someone who may share your stuff with somebody who will hire you. But if you're attracting too many of those people and not enough paying, then there's likely something in the way that you're communicating with the market that's attracting them. But I wouldn't worry too much about the do-it-yourselfers, so long as they're not the only ones you're attracting.
And another tip I'd like to share about getting comfortable saying your price. So when you're on a call, don't say your new price for the first time on the call, because there is a possibility that your voice will wobble on saying your new price. Stand in front of the mirror and say it again and again and again and again until it just rolls off your tongue and it just seems like a very small price. In your mind, put that price as $50. The $5,000 is just $50 in your mind. And this is where it's interesting if you have 3 offers. So say your really high offer, your 20, 25 grand package, say 20, 25 grand, whatever price you're going to put your highest package. Then say your middle price, the one that you've raised. And it'll seem so small compared to your big price. So really, really practice that, because the prospect will catch if your voice changes when you say your price, if you don't have the confidence when you say it. And those little nuances in any call get picked up on a subliminal level. And if your prospect feels you're not confident about what you're saying, you're not confident in your value, then they'll be turned off working with you, because they want someone who is 100% confident, believes in their value, and can give them the result. And believe me, people will pay for that. It may be finding a slightly different market, but as you raise your price, as your copy changes on your website, as your promotional material changes, as you're offering more and more value, people will start getting attracted to that new message, and they will pick up on it and they will be interested in what you have to say. But it's very interesting, because if it is about a mindset thing, if you're always looking for bargains and knock down prices and everything yourself, then that is going to feed into what you expect your prospects to pay you and your clients to pay you. There's a real correlation going on there. It's very deep down. It may be subconscious. So every now and then, invest in something that you think, okay, I'm investing in quality here, and that will get your brain moving forward on the pricing issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best advice I ever got on how to present the price was from Dan Kennedy. And he said, you've got to practice in front of a mirror. He said the hardest part about quoting, and the way he framed it was an outrageous fee, is you've got to keep a straight face. And that requires practice. So you do have to get to that point where you can confidently do it. If you don't believe it, if you haven't sold yourself on the idea that you're worth that, it's really difficult to sell someone else. So let's see, we've got a follow-up question from John Beaton on the three-tiered pricing. He's asking how to frame the tiered pricing so that more clients choose a higher option.
Again, that comes into the value that higher tier price will give to the client. So I don't know your industry, who you're serving. But for example, for me, I'm putting together a higher priced offer, which is going to be a year's coaching. And this is going to be different to working for 6 months with me, because I'm adding far more value into it. And because of the way that I'm putting it together currently, I can charge a higher price for it, and I can show the value to my prospect. And when you get to the stage where you can show your value and really align it with your prospect's goals, the price almost becomes secondary, because they will find a way of working with you if they believe you can help them to get the result that they want. I've done it myself. I thought there's no way I'm going to do the coaching at that price. I listened to what the person had to say. I thought, I have to do this. So people will find it. So it's really putting together a package which will appeal to your markets. It's doing lots of research. It's doing, maybe research calls. What I did when I wanted to sell to more successful business owners is I booked some research calls with them. I just reached out to them. I have no fear of reaching out to people. And I said, I'd love to do some research with you because I want to be selling into this market. Most of them never replied to me. That was fine. I've got no problem with that. Some of them said they were too busy. But I had 4 people who allowed me to really pick their brain and find out what their vision was, what their challenges are, what's not working for them. So I was able then to put together an offer for that slightly newer market of more successful business owners. And I was able to use their language. If you can use their language in your marketing, if you can really find their pain points and the result that they want, then I believe you can charge higher prices if you really nail their pain and the result they want. And you speak to them in their own language, you can really start upping your price, and you will be surprised at what you can charge.
So, Nina, talk a little bit about on the sales side. So we've talked a lot about pricing. On the sales side, I know a lot of people get this feeling of having to be salesy or pushy in an enrollment conversation or a strategy call or a sales conversation, whatever you want to call it. But when they're having that conversation with a prospect, they can feel like they're trying to push a little bit. How do you address that with your clients?
The biggest thing to do is to take the focus off yourself and put the focus on the client. And your focus is on offering value to your client. So finding out what the problem is, really, really getting to the heart of what is causing them their pain. The very beginning of the call has to be all about building rapport. So however you do it, if you're chatting about their family or chatting about their hobbies, whatever it is, I would say don't even go into what their challenge is until you've got some rapport going, because otherwise the conversation will be head to head, and it has to come from the heart where they really feel that you are tuning in and you understand deeply what is the problem that they're facing. So That stops you from being salesy. When you are genuinely interested, when you are genuinely curious about what is bothering them, why they have this challenge, how they haven't managed to sort out so far, then that will naturally lead you into the solution that you have for them. So it's not about being attached to the result of the call. And this is so difficult to do. We keep hearing, don't be attached to the, to the outcome. Just go in there and say, okay, I'm just going to have a great conversation with this person and I'm just going to enjoy it. And that takes the fear, that takes the nerves away. And when you're genuinely interested in someone, then you stop focusing on yourself and your worries, and you can really engage with them, because we know people buy from people that they trust and that they like and who they feel really get them. So this is just another conversation. And the lovely thing is that every conversation you have is unique. You will never, ever, ever have that conversation, that exact same conversation with anyone ever again. So see it as a one-off, a unique experience where you're going to find out what's troubling them and see whether you are a good fit and you can give them the solution that they want. And that's it. There's no more to it than that.
Yeah, and that's a big flip. I mean, everybody talks about doing it, but actually doing it is a big flip for most people. And once you make that flip, things become much easier.
Yes, it's getting your fears out of the way, because when you're fearful, then your focus is on you, saying the right thing, being mechanical, being very cerebral about it, and just hoping to please the other person. And often some people see their prospect as being on a higher level than them. They feel inferior to the prospect. That's not a great way to go into a call. You're on a level playing field. I don't care how much more they may be earning than you. You are absolutely a level playing field. You've got something that they want. You've got a skill that they don't have, which is why they're talking to you. So stand fully in your expertise, stand in your expert status. Get rid of these feelings of fraud. I'm an imposter. They'll find out I'm not very good at what I do. Get rid of all of that stuff and get really clear on how you can help that person. I can't say this enough. It's so important. Know you have a way of helping them. Know you've got the skill, because when you are a coach or consultant, your skill is what's going to create your lifestyle. And if you have to study more to get even better at it. But once you have the evidence, you can help other people. That will give you the confidence to go forward with higher pricing and start, if you want to, start talking to a different level of client.
Let's talk about some of these fears, because you've brought that up a number of times. And so there are certainly the internal fears that people have. And there may be very real external fears around their business and how it's currently operating. What are some of the things that you've come across? I'm certain lack of leads, not sure if what they're doing is really worth, what they're charging. What are some of the fears, and how do they, for the people that you've worked with, how do they kind of articulate what the fear is?
Well, the biggest fear that my clients come to me with around strategy calls is the fear of rejection. We almost have this inbuilt thing, don't we, where we hate being excluded. We don't like when people say no to us, because we take it as a rejection of who we are. And then we can give that meaning. They don't want to work with me. They don't think I'm very good at what I do. They think, other people are better than me. They think my prices are too high. They don't like me. So we can come up with all sorts of meanings around a no from a client. And that is what can stop us in our tracks from having more strategy calls. We may avoid them. There may be huge resistance. We may think, oh, I'll put that off. I'd rather go and clean the kitchen, or whatever it is. There's huge fear around talking to someone about how you can help them. And the worst part of the call is saying your fee. You could be getting lots of agreement, lots of nice chat, and then you come to that part, and that's the part we absolutely dread, because what if they say no? Then that would be terrible. And then I'll get off the phone feeling like an absolute loser. I'm a failure. I'll never get what I want. This doesn't work. I might have to go and get a job. So we put all this big story out there, which is with the hook of a no. We hang all this stuff on that hook. What if we just went into a call and said, I'm going to have this conversation. I'm going to deeply understand where the pain is, deeply understand their vision. And that's all I'm going to do in this call. And whether to say yes or no to working with me, that doesn't mean anything about me and who I am. It's just not a good fit for them. If we went in with that mindset, without any fears, what do you think would happen on that call? You probably have a really great conversation with that person. And that's all it is. It's a two-way conversation. And one of the, I've done a lot of sales training. What I've found is really important is that we don't talk too much in a sales conversation. Listen. That's what you're there for. You're there to listen and understand and empathize. Please empathize with your client. I don't care if you're selling them a widget, if you're selling them coaching, whatever it is, empathize with where they are with their pain. Don't skip over when they're sharing something really deep. Just take a moment to say, I really feel for you. And say it from your heart. Don't just say it mechanically, because people will pick up on that. So again, practice. If you have to practice in front of the mirror, empathizing with people and really deeply listening, then do that. It'll be a really good use of your time, because you might have the best sales script in the world. But if you're reading it mechanically and you're not engaging and you're looking at the next line you need to read after they give their answer, they're going to feel that they haven't been heard. And I think miracles happen when people think that you really get them. You understand, you're empathetic, you've got that rapport, and you will be surprised at what people will pay for that empathy and the rapport and feel that they've been understood. Because a lot of people just don't listen. Most people don't listen. They just die to say the next thing and leave long pauses. Someone says something, they're sharing something, leave a pause, count 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and most of the time, the prospect will have thought of something else because you've given them thinking time, and they'll come up with something even deeper.
I just want to speak to that for a second, because that's very difficult for most people to do. You get that awkward silence and you feel as though you need to fill the silence. And when you're having those conversations, if you're doing them well, you're asking the prospect to really think about and really get clear on what they really want, and really get clear on what the obstacles are to getting what they want. That's not always an easy conversation, particularly for everybody on this call, because you're usually dealing with some type of transformation, either in a business or the business owner or personally. And you have to give the person the space to think for a moment. The silence is actually really powerful. It'll do a lot of the work for you, but you've got to allow it to be there. I know I had a hard time with this early on when I was doing, sales conversations, and particularly over the phone. I found it actually easier to do in person, but over the phone, because you can't see what the other person's doing. If you're face to face, sometimes you can see that they're thinking or they're sort of struggling with it. When you're over the phone, if you're doing them that way and you can't see what they're going through by the expression on their face, the mute button is your best friend, because even if you want to talk, you're muted, and it's going to take you a few seconds to get that back on. And that can be a real practical way to allow yourself to have that silence. And it's so critical so that they can get to that point of clarity. One other comment I want to add to all of this, Nina, is that, a lot of people can look at the things that we're covering here and go, oh, just toughen up, just go do it, right? We're all in business, and, we should be able to just do these things. Interesting thing is that, we work with a lot of fairly successful business owners, and the more successful they get, the thing that I've noticed is that they pay more attention to these sorts of things. They pay attention to their thinking, and they work on modifying their thinking very actively. And it's, the interesting thing is that in the less successful ones, that trait is less present or non-existent. And so that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have this call today, is I wanted to share with all of you why I think this is so important. So,
yeah. Can I just say a couple of things around there?
Yes.
Most people rush past their thinking. If you look at the most elite athletes, most, people at the top of their game, whatever niche, whatever industry, most of them know that they need to get that extra 2 or 3%, whatever it is, that will keep them at the very top of their game. when they have, when they have a lot of things in place in their life, they will then turn to their mindset because they know this is what's going to make the difference for them. However, now we all have access to this. Whatever stage of, business you're in, everyone has access to leveraging their thinking to make it easier, to make it faster. It's not just about money. We want money because it gives us things. We can buy things with it. We can buy more time. We can buy freedom. We can buy travel. We can buy family time, friends time. We're after something much more than money. But in order to have all of those wonderful things that money can buy us, as a business owner, we have to be good at selling our services. I'm not saying selling ourselves, selling our services. We have to be comfortable on sales calls because it's so much harder when you're not. You waste so much time on, conversations which don't go anywhere. So this is really worth spending your time, attention on. There's so much information out there. So be really picky about what information you use. And there are some brilliant information and some very poor information. Also, just going back to what you said earlier about strategy calls, for me, the value of strategy calls is giving the prospect time to have insights and link things together they'd never linked together. So for me, when I have a conversation, often they realize their pattern of thinking is causing their problems. Oh, I never realized that came from that. I never realized that had the impact there. And as they're sitting there joining the dots, that's where they get the value. You've given them that time to be able to do that. They don't normally stop and have that time for thinking in their busy day. So when they have that and you have enabled them to have the insights and then start finding out, where the pain is, what the result is, and if you have the right solution for them. And when they realize that, you've enabled them to have that, it really gives them a tremendous sense of the value they're getting from that call.
Absolutely. So, Nina, I'm going back to an earlier question that came up that Marianne asked, and she's essentially asking about the journey that you've been through, or maybe that I've been through with pricing, from sort of where you started to where you are now, and what are some of the things that you've done to kind of increase your value as you've gone along. I'm happy to answer that as well. I don't know if you want to start, or I'm happy to start, but.
Yes, I'm very happy to start. I was very lazy. So I had the same package and I just kept putting my prices up because I did a little bit of what Dan did and I'd heard of the way that he worked. And I thought, okay, so I had, very lucky to have great JVs who support me and they'd mail to their list. And then I would get, a lovely number of new amazing clients to work with. And then the next time someone mailed for me, I think I'm going to put my price up. And it's just carried on like that. And I know that there's so much more room for price increase because what I do with my coaching is I tie the mindset to my clients' goals to make sure that they get tangible results. So whatever you're doing, whatever industry you're in, make sure that you can somehow, or your client can see that they're going to get tangible goals working with you. So even with a mindset coach, that's possible. And so I very simply put up my prices without changing my package. And so far, it's working great.
Yeah, and I think that to me is the most straightforward path to doing it. And my journey has been, gosh, we've offered all kinds of things. I've been doing this long enough now to have had lots of different configurations of our offer. I think currently, well, I'll just tell you where I started. So I started off doing one-on-one consulting with small businesses in my local area for $600 a month, which really wasn't well defined what that entailed. But I got enough people to buy it, and they got enough value out of it that we stayed in business. And so where we've evolved to is, now we primarily do done-for-you marketing. So for people that want to get marketing off their plate and focus on other things, we do that. But we also still have some of that kind of coaching piece. So on the low end, we're, I think, $15,000 a year for coaching. for somebody to work with me. And then we've got a $25,000 offer and a $150,000 a year offer. And so we're kind of all over the map. What I will tell you is that it was actually the times we've sold the $150,000 a year offer, those are the easiest sales we've ever made. Far easier than the $15,000 sales. And so and the reason that it's easier is that it's a completely different client making the decision in a completely different way. And that's the magic of pricing. You know, I think Nina, you made it very clear that we often like to make pricing all about us, but really pricing is more about your client and what kind of client that is going to show up to pay a particular fee and the story that they're telling themselves about paying that particular fee. Really, at the end of the day, it's about them. And you've got to think about what's the kind of client that I want and what is the fee that allows them to tell the story that they want to tell. And I'll give you I'm the perfect guinea pig for that, not because of what I charge in my business, but because of the way I buy things. If there is a premium option, I'm writing the check for it almost every time. I don't care what it is. I don't know why that is. That just seems to be the way I'm wired. And it allows me to tell a particular story to myself and to others about that purchase. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum, my wife would just as quickly always buy on the lower end of the pricing point. And that allows her to tell a particular story to herself and to others about her purchase. And that is the most important consideration in pricing. But the problem is you've got this giant wall that you've built in front of that where you think it's all about you. And so, that's really where you want to begin getting to and thinking about. Marianne had a really good insight in here, Nina. She says she's a mindset coach and she still needs support with her mindset. I think this is really difficult work to do on your own.
Yeah. And Marianne, I completely agree with you because I have a mindset coach. I do buddy coaching with another mindset coach and I can do so much myself. I'm pretty good at it. I'm so self-aware now. I can pick up stuff. I can pivot my thinking. If I'm going down a rabbit hole, I can pick myself out. But I still don't see my blind spots. And I need someone with the expertise to be able to find those limiting. So for example, if I have a challenge, I can find a few limiting beliefs. When I work with my mindset buddy, she will find another 7 or 8 or 9. So it's really hard to do it all on your own. It's so hard to do it all on your own. And you can make some progress, but the DIY approach will only get you so far.
Absolutely. Nina, we've got about 7 minutes to go. And I want to give you a little bit of time just to share a little bit about what you do with your clients and let people know how they can get in touch with you if they feel like they want to work on some of these things.
Absolutely. Thank you. So the work that I do with my clients is I find all their challenges, all the behavior that they don't want, whether it's spinning plates, overwhelm, stuck with pricing, hating marketing and sales, fear of being visible, all of those things. And once we find the behaviors, then I will dig around until we find all their limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs, self-esteem beliefs, things like I'm not good enough, confrontation is scary, I'm not allowed to play big, all these stories we tell ourselves. Then we'll find all their limiting money beliefs. I'm not worth that much, no one's going to pay that much, it's greedy to charge that, whatever limiting beliefs. And this is all programming that you inevitably grew up with. The problem is all that programming is defining your life now. It'll define your future unless you get rid of it. So that's the work I do. I find the limiting beliefs, help them to get rid of them permanently, and then replace those beliefs with new empowering beliefs. And it's amazing. I mean, within a few minutes, clients who have had limiting beliefs since they were 4 or 5 years old, they get rid of them completely. They'll go down from, we rate every belief at the beginning of the, before we start working on it, out of 10. If it's a 10, within 15, 20 minutes, it'll be a 0. And they're like, I can't believe I ever thought that to be true about me. Every time they let go of a limiting belief is evidence that they've been telling themselves stories. Because if they were true about them, you can never get rid of them, could you? You can never change them. And that's the wonderful thing about thought. It's fluid. You can change it in the next moment. You can change your mind about something. And our unique thinking is our greatest gift, but often we use it against us. So it's helping clients to really root out all the limiting belief systems which are blocking them and replacing that with new thinking, which can help them to grow their business easier and faster, where they can go out and, really reach out to people and connect with people they were too scared of to connect with before. Building relationships, I think, is one of the key things of being in business. And also being able to make your offer with confidence and with integrity, standing in your value and as an expert.
Absolutely. So, Nina, how can people reach out to you? What's the best way for them to find you if they've watched today and they're thinking maybe they've got some things they want to work through?
Well, I was thinking towards the end of this year what I could do to help clients who are stuck in low pricing, not charging their value, and worried about how to put their prices. So I'm kicking off the new year with a boot camp. And the idea of the boot camp is it's only going 5 weeks. So 5 high-paying clients in 5 weeks. That's a boot camp. And it's all live. So there's no recorded calls to watch, no modules to watch on your own. They're going to be 2 live calls per week. So that's 10 live calls. And it's all going to be about me teaching, sharing everything I know about how to raise your prices, how to get rid of your fears, but also how to take the practical action as well. Because there's no point in just sitting there thinking, I'm fearless about raising my prices, but not doing anything about it. So it's going to be getting out there, telling people about your prices, having those conversations, and making sure that they are really aligned. So some of those calls, half of those calls, are actually going to be getting rid of limiting beliefs. There's going to be lots of hot seating, and everyone in the group is going to share the benefits of having that person in the hot seat. Because if that one person has a limiting belief around not feeling deserving, not feeling worthy, etc., everyone else in the group is going to get rid of their limiting belief at the same time, because they're going to be working on themselves. And so there's lots of coaching, lots of accountability, lots of support, lots of fun, because people will realize I'm not the only one who feels like that. Other people do. Lots of insights, and I want it to be fun, but I want it to be very, very practical. So there are real results at the end of it, because I would love great testimonials. I would like to run this, again in the future, but this is going to be the first time I'm running it, and it's going to be very interactive. And the sort of people who it's going to really suit are people who are committed to taking action. People are going to show up. People are going to do all the homework that I set them. People are going to turn up, for the hot seating and take part in all of those coaching calls to get rid of their limiting beliefs. So they're going to start thinking in a completely different way about what's possible for them. So they can start taking action they've never taken before. So it's a very exciting journey, and no one knows where they're going to go with the new thinking. And for me and for my clients, it's always more exciting than you believe it's going to be. So I had a client today, and she said, I was talking to a CEO, and normally I'm so worried about what people will think about me. And I said, how do you think I'm doing? He said, you're so confident. She said, I couldn't believe he said that about me, because before she started working with me, she had zero confidence about herself. So this is all about stepping into the best version of who you are, and really kicking off 2019 with some intense activity. It's going to be uncomfortable, but if you're really up for it and you really want to stretch yourself, come out of that comfort zone, which isn't that comfortable really, is it? And start taking big action around your business, and having that courage to go out and talk to people and say your new price with confidence, then I'd love to have you on board.
And I love the fact that you're doing this in a group. And some people may say, oh no, I need to do this in private, but I've actually done a good deal of this work in the past. And I think it's best done in a group setting. In fact, that's where I've done most of the work that I've done around mindset. because you quickly see that no matter what you're thinking, you're not ever the only one. And very quickly you will find that someone else is seeing it, and they may see a value in you that you don't recognize. So it's really, I think, really powerful to have a group around it. I'm so glad you're doing it that way, Nina. I think that's going to be really, really impactful for the people who decide that, now's the time for them to work on this.
Yes, and I want to make a fairly small group because I want lots of one-to-one time with everyone. And as I said, there's going to be accountability. So there's going to be, an online forum where they can always ask questions. And I want it to be a very supportive group where people are getting major breakthroughs and realizing, actually, I can do that. I can't believe I never did that before. So almost getting that point, we're not using willpower and determination every day because that's really exhausting. You're just doing it naturally and effortlessly. For example, when I got rid of my fear of visibility, I thought I could start putting out videos now. It was so easy. I didn't have to fight my resistance. So I want to take people to that level where they just find it becomes easy.
Absolutely. So for people that want to find out more about that, is there a website they can go to now, or are they going to get an email from you?
I will quickly share my screen. So please let me know if you can see this.
Yep. I think we can see it.
Fantastic. So this is I'm sorry, it's a really long URL. And it's ninacooke.co.uk/5-in-5/. When I put up the replay, I'll put this link at the bottom of it. It says ninacooke.co.uk/campaigns/5-in-5/. So if you want to find out more about how we can work together, please go along there. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. But this is probably the most exciting program I've ever put together because I want people to get real results.
And I just put that URL into the chat for folks if you want to click it there or copy and paste it if you want to go.
But please come along if you are really, really determined to start off 2019 in a completely different way, and you want it to be your best ever year in your business. So those are the sort of people I want to work with in this group.
Folks understand this is not an affiliate thing. We don't take affiliate commissions. The reason that I invited Nina here is I believe in what she's doing. And for those, for whom it's a fit and the right timing, I think you're going to get tremendous value out of it. I've already been through her process. She took me through a mini version of it. And I've been doing this kind of work for years, and it was amazing just going, in the matter of an hour, going through her process. She's got a different approach than anything I've seen before. I think it's very, very effective.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
All right. Any questions anyone has about anything we haven't covered so far? I know we've kind of gone through our hour. I can stay a few minutes longer. I know, Nina, you can probably stay a few minutes longer and answer questions.
Absolutely. Yes. If there's any more questions, please do. Please put them into chat because I love answering questions, and if I can help in any way.
Looks like we've got it covered.
Fantastic.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for being here. And I hope you got a good deal of value out of the time that we've invested together today. This is, again, I think this is a really important topic, and one that is not paid nearly enough attention to by most business people. And I think it's the difference maker, frankly. So thank you all for being here. Nina, thanks for investing some time with me and
it's been a pleasure.
Sharing all of your wisdom with our group.
It's been lovely meeting everyone here.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.